This is Eric Rattan of Cannibal Corpse. You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast with Andrew McKay Smith.
G'day everybody, thanks so much for tuning in to the chat with Avantasia and EdGuy frontman Tobias Sammet. It's a killer conversation that covers a lot of ground, diving into Tobias's philosophy on music, touring, a bunch of other stuff. The catalyst for the chat, though, is due to the launch of a new album, a new record from Avantasia. This one's titled A Paranormal Evening with the Moonflower Society. Now, before we dive into the chat, if you are listening via the podcast apps, I have a tune to share with you. This one is titled The Inmost Light, and once it's done, you'll hear from Tobias on YouTube. You know the drill by now. We're just going to cut to the conversation right now. So either way, let's go. I can hear you, mate. How are you?
Hi, Andrew. How are you doing? I'm fine. Are you?
Good. Are you going to bring yourself to the party here and turn on your video, or is this one to be one of those ones where you'd rather not have the video?
Are you one of the ones who don't rather not? I prefer not to have video because I prefer to walk around and have
no drums
have
at all.
the phone on my ear. No, it's really, to be honest with you, these new. I'm getting an old fart, and the brave new world with all these Team Viewer and Zoom and Skype. It's just I prefer walking around while doing an interview. I'm walking around all the time, doing something, having a coffee here, then walking there, then going opening the door. I can't do that, and you stare at a screen, and I hate it.
No dramas. It's look, no worries whatsoever. The point is, and I know it will be because we've had a conversation before, the quality of the conversation is always great with you, and that's the main thing. That's what I want people to understand. It's just, bloody consumers, mate, these days, they're so video centric. It's nuts.
Okay, but the quality is it okay for you now, the way we have it, or the
it's
the audio
perfect.
quality?
Oh no, that's what I'm saying. No, it's perfect. No dramas whatsoever.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I just thought I'd ask the question up front. Just out of habit, I asked the question, but like I was saying, I had a conversation with you on the eve of the launch of the last album, or was it the last Australian tour? I can't recall now, but it was a great conversation. We talked about a whole bunch of things. So the tour went really well. I know it did.
Yeah. That was a real good tour. That was the good old day when you were able to tour.
Yeah, I know.
It was 2019 was a very successful year for Avantasia. It was really big and everything. We were an uphill wave. And uphill wave, does that make sense? Not really.
I know what you're saying. No, you mean you were going well.
Get the point. We were on a wave, and using a different metaphor, we were going uphill. But it is what it is, and I don't want to complain because these days life is not too bad for Avantasia and me either. So it is good. I'm happy with how things are.
It certainly is good based on the quality of A Paranormal Evening with the Moonflower Society. It's I've got to say, it's more of everything. Okay, which I kind of expected from you because you've been doing this a long time now, but it's lovely to hear it. So the new album, of course, that's its name. And Arabesque, I've got to say off the cuff, is probably one of the finest cuts you've ever written. Okay, so
thank you very much. Thank you. I'm happy with it, I have to say. It's really funny because that song had been written during the Moonglow era. It had been, it's one of those two songs on this record have been leftovers from the Moonglow era. And it just didn't make it onto the Moonglow album because we already had two epics on the Moonglow album. And it was like drawing lots. It was not that the worst of those three epics was kicked off the Moonglow album. It was just, those two other songs were already there. So I skipped Arabesque, and here it is now. But funny thing is, I skipped a long epic that I wrote after Arabesque that was supposed to be on this A Paranormal Evening with the Moonflower Society album. So there is a long song that is going to be on the next album that was supposed to be on this album. And it's going to feature Geoff Tate. That I can already say.
Well, it's like you're anticipating where I'm headed with my questions then, or the conversation, if you like, because you have talked in the past about how much you've been inspired, I think is the right word, by Geoff Tate. from Queensryche, and this is the third album that you're working with him on, if I'm not mistaken. But what is it? The song Scars is probably my second favourite song on the album, I've got to say. So what is it about working with Geoff that is so special?
He's been a huge inspiration for me. And I think without Geoff, we wouldn't be singing the way we sing. And I think I speak on behalf of probably 95% of all vocalists in traditional anthemic heavy metal with classic vocals. Geoff has been, he's been absolutely paving the way for all of us, Michael Kiske, me, I think many, if you go to Stradivarius, if you ask the singers in Rhapsody, and I think they all appreciate Geoff's vocals, and they've all been coined and inspired by him. He took that type of singing to a different level. I mean, there has been Bruce Dickinson and Rob Halford before, and Ian Gillan, but I think Geoff added drama and theatrics to it in a way. He got a lot of opera into traditional heavy metal, and I've been singing his songs back and forth in my teenage years. Take Hold of the Flame, Revolution Calling, Eyes of a Stranger, I Don't Believe in Love. Though I've always been a huge fan of him, and it means a lot to be writing for him. And it's funny, when I write for him, it's almost as if he's next to me, because I can already, when I write a song, I can already imagine what it sounds like when Geoff sings it. And I can hear it in my mind. I can hear it. And what I hear in my mind, even before Geoff knows about the song, I can hear him sing those passages. And what I hear is pretty similar to what the result sounds like. So in some way, I think his singing is in my DNA.
And again, it's like you're anticipating where I'm headed with the conversation, because I want to find out how you choose which vocalist for which song. So you just described how it works with Geoff, but is it like that, say, with Ralph Sheepers? Is it like that with the other fellas, Bob, even Michael, John, Floor, the girl in the album? Is it like that for them as well?
There's no rule without an exception, I'd say, or there is no rules at all. It's all, a lot of what I do, or most of what I do, is based on intuition. And with Ralph, in his case, it was, I was working on the song The Wicked Rule the Night, and I was working on the verse, and I sang along to the verse, and I immediately realized, oh, that's a song that is, Ralph Schepers has to sing that one. I know Ralph's voice. I've known it for a long time, since the first Gamma Ray albums, and I know what he's capable of doing. And I know what a perfect mix of sheer aggression and power and melodic classical singing he is. And that song needed those both aspects, and it was intuition. I wrote the verse and I thought, okay, that's got to be Ralph Schepers. I contacted him and he agreed, and sang it. With Bob, sometimes I have an idea, and a song idea, and a sound aesthetic or sound aesthetics in my mind. And then I think of Bob Catley. And then once I thought of Bob Catley, he's also been so inspirational to me. The song gets a life of its own, and it guides me with Bob's voice in mind. It's pretty similar to working with Geoff's voice in mind. The same for Michael Kiske. Is like when I have a song idea and it's a traditional anthemic speed metal song or a certain kind of singing, I know this has to be Michi. It's these. I always have those associations in my head. And when I work with Michi in the back of my head, once I've started to work on a song that I think would be right for Michi, then it's like Michi is sitting in the same room and I'm working on it and I'm coming up with melodies and I sing them in my head. Sometimes I don't even have to sing them out loud. It's enough to imagine them, and I hear them with Michi's voice. And so that's very inspirational too. Sometimes you just write a song and you don't know who's going to sing it, which was the case in, for example, I Tamed the Storm, or the song with Floor Jansen, Misplaced Among the Angels. Floor Jansen is a very, very good example to explain the both different ways of working. It could be Misplaced Among the Angels was a song that had been written way before I had thought of Floor. The song was finished writing-wise and also recording of it, most of it. And then I thought, oh, that could be great for Floor Jansen. And I got in touch with Floor, and Floor agreed to sing with Avantasia, but she heard the song and thought, it's a great song, but I'm not sure it's exactly my range. Don't you have something else? And I went, no, but give me a few days. I'm going to write something. And I wrote Kill the Pain Away within a few days, 3-4 days. And we recorded it. We recorded a demo, and I sent it to her. And she said, oh, that's perfect. That was tailor-made for Floor. And then she also sang Misplaced Among the Angels because she became acquainted with the song, and she finally said, oh, yeah, for some reason it worked. I checked it out again, and I really like it. So she sang that song too, and it works beautifully too. So 2 songs with the same singer. One was written with her in mind. One was written with her not in mind. They both work. So that's why I say there's no rule really. A lot of what I do is based on intuition.
Has anybody knocked you back after you've asked them to appear on an Avantasia album?
In the past, absolutely. I mean, I wanted to work with, it's not a secret. I've always wanted to work with Bruce Dickinson. But I think he's a lovely person. I've met him only briefly on a few occasions, but the whole Iron Maiden camp, I think they're nice people, and also Rod Smallwood. But Rod said in a very polite way, Toby, this is not going to happen because Bruce has so many things to do, and he wants to do his own stuff, and he wants to focus on Iron Maiden. And he needs to focus on Iron Maiden, and I accept that, absolutely. So that's not going to happen. I also wanted to work with Meatloaf, and it looked good. Then his management said, "Oh no, we don't do it for now." And of course, it's not going to happen. Unfortunately,
The poor bloke lost it though, didn't he? Did you see the video of him at the AFL Grand Final in 2014? I think it was. I mean, toward the end there, he probably shouldn't have been on stage. It was really sad to see, to be quite honest with you. So it might have been for the best either way.
But you just I know that he was struggling vocally. I think I asked him in 2015, and he did the Brave Than We Are album after that. I think, some singers do struggle at a certain age, especially when they have very demanding things to sing and when they have been in the trenches for so long vocally. And, singers fronting rock bands, competing with a wall of guitars for 40 years. It's absolutely no surprise that at some point their voice will surrender and raise the white flag. But still, I will always prefer one of those true original that's been in the trenches for long, that has the scars and the wear and tear of the road and of 45, 50 years of work, with every crack in their voice telling a tale of the way that lies behind them and the experience they carry with them. I always prefer that over a neat and clean and flawless vocalist replacing one of those icons. I'm always pro original, and I rather accept the wear and tear of the road. So for me, the struggles of Meatloaf, and you can also, there's some other singers that do have certain problems. For me, that doesn't minimize their lifetime achievement and the joy that they give to me, that I derive from watching them, even when they struggle. I'm always taking the whole package into consideration, and then I'm very I don't know the word now, but I really prefer those originals.
I saw Ripper the other night, just on Friday night actually, and unbelievable. You and he have something in common, is in that your quality is there, And just alluding to the point you made about wanting to watch originals, people that have been in the trenches, I'm the same. But the reality is...
Who were you speaking about? I didn't...
Oh, Ripper Owens, Tim Ripper Owens, ex-Judas Priest singer.
Oh, yeah. He's a great singer.
Yeah.
Don't you think so?
Oh, unreal. Fantastic. Yeah, that's my point. But my point is some have lost it, some have still got it. He's not just still got it, he's getting better somehow. But he's a young chap. He's not been in the trenches for so long. I mean, he's just been singing 2 tours with Judas Priest. I don't want to downsize his achievements, not at all, not a minute of it. But I'm talking about singers that 70, 75. It's very obvious that at some point, I mean, it's all based on muscles, and of course you lose your strength at some point. But I will always prefer Rob Halford, not Rob Halford over Ripper Owens. That's an unfair comparison. But I will always prefer, let's say, Paul Stanley over a Kiss tribute singer. No, I want to see Paul Stanley. And if he struggles, well, then so be it. It will always be King Paul. Absolutely, for me. I just saw him actually about a month or so back, 3 or 4 weeks back, and he's still got it. I think they're piping in their own vocal, so it's a tandem thing. I don't know this. I'm theorising, okay? I want to be clear on this. I don't know this for a fact, but it was almost perfect. Truly.
Yeah, so, but I don't know. I don't want to judge if they use help or not. But the thing is, I've seen their show 5 years ago, something like that. It was a bit rough, but it was absolutely entertaining, and that's what counts. There were 12 or 14,000 people in front of the stage, and they all felt perfectly entertained. So was I. Absolutely, mission accomplished.
Yeah, you certainly bring it. There's no doubt about that. So here's a question for you that I hope you haven't been asked. So I thought about this one. What is the greatest ambition you have for your music?
Ambition? I don't know if I'm too ambitious. I've always wanted to be, I can think of what I wanted to achieve. And I think I've achieved that. I wanted to be able to live from my music, to feed myself and now my family with my music. That was all I wanted to achieve. And I wanted to be able to do records and play some tours. I have to say I achieved way more than I ever asked for. And I achieved so much, it's enough for 3 or 4 careers. And that's why I'm very, very thankful. So I am not as ambitious as people think. I just want to be allowed to record more music, because music to me, of course, it's great to be on a stage and to get all the acclaim and the approval and, people cheering at you. That's great. But the thing is, to me, it's got a self-therapeutical aspect as well. It's self-therapy. I want to create music. I want to be creative. I want to record albums and play my music for myself and sell enough records or concert tickets to feed my family with it, so I don't have to get up in the morning and do a shit job that would prevent me from being creative. So that's all I can ask for, and I've achieved that. So there is no real ambition. I don't have a bucket list saying, "Oh, okay, if a fairy would come and grant me 3 wishes, and I could say, okay, I want to have a 15 times platinum record in the US, and I want to sell out Madison Square Garden 12 subsequent nights, please, with Avantasia." And she would say, okay, I can see what I can do. I would probably phrase that wish. But, the world will not stop turning for me if that fairy will not pop up. And in fact, I think it's quite a high risk that it won't happen. Those fairies don't pop up usually.
Yeah, no.
It's the same. It's as unlikely as aliens coming to planet Earth, knocking at your door and asking you, "Oh, I want to hear about your music. Which record would you play to me to make me understand your music?" The same thing is, I think it's very unlikely to be asked to live on a desert island with just 3 things that you are allowed to take from home, or 3 albums from your record collection. Never heard of a serious case where somebody was asked, hey, take 3 records out of your collection and then go to a desert island. Mm-hmm. Never heard of that. Yeah. It's very impractical.
I know. They're just trying to I think people are just trying to get to the bottom of the albums that mean the most to you, but it's sort of beside the point, isn't it? Because you can't just pick 3 when you're a musician.
That's the reason.
That's what it must be. I don't know. I could never pick 3. There's been too many that have had an influence, But here's another question that I thought about for you. What's the best thing you've heard someone say about your music?
I think it's always very flattering. Not flattering, but it makes me happy when people say that it helped them through difficult times and that it gave them strength. That's something. That's the most important thing. That's when there's a truly profound reason to be doing what I do, and that's a good proof. On a different occasion, what really meant a lot to me was when I have this one great moment. I was playing, or we were playing with EdGuy in Spain, and we were playing with Iron Maiden, and Steve Harris came to me backstage. It was Rod Smallwood knocked the door of our dressing room and came in, and he said, hey, Toby, Steve wants to talk to you. He usually doesn't do that because apparently Steve Harris is a very shy person. I don't understand why. Biggest bass player in the history of metal. But anyway, and he came and he said, hey, Toby, congratulations. What a great show. And when you hear that out of the word of a demigod, let's put it this way, a great bass player, 20 amazing albums with Iron Maiden. When you hear that out of his mouth, well, it kind of it's a reward. It's like getting an award for your lifetime achievement. It's to me that then those arrows flying towards you from asshole critics that do exist. They become so irrelevant. It was great. And also, when you get compliments from your heroes, when people like Alice Cooper say, oh, Scarecrow, what a great record. Or when Klaus Meine works with you on your record. And those things that mean a lot to me. When it doesn't have to be public or in the press or anything. Of course, every acclaim is flattering, but when those people that mean so much to you and your career and you starting out as a kid, when those people come to you and say, hey, that was really, really great. I really love it. Great job. You're a great singer. That's what Steve Harris told me. And that means a lot, I have to say. I'm a fanboy.
That's huge. Yeah, that's huge. But look, how many people would he say that to? Let's face it, maybe you and you could probably count on one hand the amount of people he said that to. So that's enormous.
Yeah. I was really. That was a great moment for me. It was just like, okay, it was a great show. The fans loved it, but that was the icing on the cake.
That's when you know that you've already made it. You're already a success. You're doing what God's put you on this earth to do. Financially, it's all happened. You've got a fan base, but that's when you know you're really moving the needle, isn't it?
Yeah. It was. It's. I mean, that's as good as it gets. When
it's huge. Yeah. There's a few things that get said on this show, mate, but that's one of the biggest things I think that's been said, because you're right. Nobody even meets Steve. He doesn't socialise, to your point. He doesn't get out there, and he doesn't like doing interviews. He doesn't really like talking to people. He's really a homebody and loves soccer, loves playing soccer, and yet he's giving you that great feedback.
Yeah, it was to me, it wasn't a long conversation. It was maybe 5 minutes or something, but I really, and I will, I remember it, that was probably 10 years ago or something like that. And I have to say, I will carry that. I mean, we have played with Maiden more often, and it's all, we're always treated nicely and all's good. But that instant, that always does something to you as an artist, and you remember that when you bump into younger musicians, and how much how much that meant to the younger me. That's something that you want to pass on, and you sometimes reconsider and think of that and say, hey, you like their show, you have to go there and tell them and let them know, because they will probably carry some strength from it. That's why I always try to when I like something and I discover something that I like, I always try to leave a comment at somebody's website or at the Facebook page, or I try to let people know when I like something, because I think maybe that means something to them, and then it's good not to be silent about it, but to actually say something about it.
My take on you you're well-rounded from the perspective that you've got the necessary flamboyance to be one of the premier metal frontmen of our generation, yet you're very down to earth at the same time, and you connect with fans. So if you were asked to describe yourself in a sentence, what do you think you'd say?
In one sentence, I don't know. It's really hard to describe yourself, because I think I can be very emotional in every direction. I can be very, very hot-tempered, and I can be very melancholic. I don't socialize a lot, but at the same time, that's weird, actually. I'm quite a shy person. I don't socialize a lot, but when somebody pushes me on stage, and sometimes I push myself on stage, then it's like somebody turns a switch and or applies a switch. It's like then I really enjoy being there and entertaining people. Say, hey, everybody look at me, here I am. And then as soon as the curtain falls, I'm again this little pathetic piece of desperation. and hey, give me a piece of pizza and then leave me alone in my hotel room. It's really weird. I don't know. I think I'm not the only one who's like that. I think Justin Hawkins of The Darkness, I've talked to him. The feeling I have from seeing his onstage persona and talking to him backstage, it's the same thing. And also, I think a lot of Alice Cooper is the same way. I don't think he's very melancholic and he's not a pathetic appearance when he's off stage. But on stage, he's Alice Cooper, and backstage, he's a guy in sneakers who is very well aware that you should not really fall for the illusion of what people perceive who you are. Yes. It's a show, and I try to be an honest artist. But still, I don't believe that I'm something extraordinary when I leave stage. Then I'm Toby. And especially when you come home from a tour, and your wife reminds you of, it's trash day. Then you know you have arrived in reality.
Got to go and pick up the dog shit and put out the garbage. Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, it's isn't that a nice juxtaposition though? You got the life on the road and the adulation of people that have had a long, hard day at work, and then you get to entertain them and get to be the light in their life just for that moment in time. I'm not saying that people have shitty lives or whatever, but you get it. Yeah.
It is great to have both worlds, but I have to say the first 2 days off the road after coming back from a tour, they are the hardest, when you're screaming for towels and when you say, hey, where are my servants? Somebody pass me a pineapple, please. Oh, the pineapple doesn't taste. Where's my crossbow? You really, when you get home and you're being told to, why don't you just bring out the garbage, exactly as you say. The first 2 days are a bit of a challenge when you're reminded that you are not the king.
Yeah, I never lived it, but I can only imagine it to be like that. Yeah. Do you enjoy the road aspect of it? You understand the tour buses, the airplanes, the airports?
No. But I hate tour buses. I have to say, I feel like on a submarine, and I just hate it. It's shaking, and you want to sleep, and somebody's snoring, and somebody's drinking heavily, and somebody is noisy, and then you can hear the bathroom. Somebody's listening to music, and then we need to get off the bus. There's a ferry. Oh, great! It's 3:00 in the morning. Let's get off the bus because we only have to show tomorrow. So it's really. It can be demanding, but I don't want to whine about it. And especially, I have to say, after this year, when we got back on the road and we were approaching the coastline of Spain for the first show after a 2.5 years hiatus or hibernation or whatever you call the corona pandemic timeout, all of a sudden I realized I have my job back. And I kind of, I don't want to say I swore that I will never complain about anything again. I could not swear that. But I could not promise that. But the thing is, I was reminded of how fortunate I am, and it was an overwhelming moment of thinking of how I have my job back and realizing it. And I think on this whole tour, I didn't complain about a single thing, or maybe a single thing or two, but not too many things, not as usual. As usual, when you're on the road for 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks in a row in the past couple of years prior to the pandemic, there are things that are annoying. And I know I sound like a spoiled brat here, but it's quite demanding because you have to go on stage and you have to be in shape and you have to deliver. There's no excuses, no apologies. You have to sing. Your voice has to work. Therefore, you need sleep. You need sleep. You need to nourish well. You need a certain time to relax. And sometimes on the road, that's not possible. And then the more you're stressed out, the more these little things become annoying. Yeah. When somebody wakes you up at night, when you have a noisy hotel room, when you have noise in front of the hotel, something like that, and you can't sleep and you're stressing out, you say, I need to sleep. Otherwise, I can't sing tomorrow. These little things become annoying. This summer, I have to say it was a mental thing. I was not complaining about things. I was just appreciating the fact that I was allowed to have my job back. Mm-hmm. But to answer your question, there are things about life on the road that I don't enjoy. I think I will never really love a tour bus. I will never love it, even after COVID and even after being appreciative of having my job back. I will never be appreciative of having a Nightliner tour bus back. I don't like these things. They shake and smell and I don't like them. Yeah. But you know, I accept them.
Yeah, you're only human, and you're only human until we have teleportation devices. They're unfortunately, that's what has to be done. But I'll ask a couple more questions. But here's a question that I've asked a lot of people over the past 3 years or so, ever since COVID kicked in. Scott Ian Lewis from Carnifex memorably told me that it effectively had brought them and the band to its knees, to the point where they didn't think they were going to be able to go on. But how was it for you guys? Because the band is a business.
I didn't understand your question. What was that?
So COVID and the way that you couldn't tour and potentially sell merch and all of this sort of stuff, it was all then online. The lifeblood of most musicians is touring and being on the road, selling merch at gigs and that sort of stuff. Not being able to do that through COVID meant that you didn't have an income source. And, of course, you've probably got your regular roadies that you work with, this type of thing. Was COVID a catastrophe financially for the band, or was it just one of those things you had enough in the bank to sort of be able to truck on through until here we are, we're on the other side, and you clearly can sort of get back to recording and touring again?
My situation is quite not so bad. So of course it was a catastrophe for many people that I'm surrounded with. The technicians, a lot of backliners just quit their job in the music industry and found something else to work. That's why a lot of them disappeared. So it was a catastrophe for the working environment, for the whole scene, for the whole business, for everything. Me personally, I'm in the fortunate position that we have been very successful in the past, so it didn't affect me in a bad way. I could deal with the consequences of the COVID pandemic, but still, of course, it's not just a question of economics. It's also a question of your mental well-being, because it is quite difficult to realize that everything you love, your job, your passion, the existence of your musical future is at stake. And that was a way bigger problem mentally than, fortunately, than the financial worries had to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I can appreciate that. Yeah, it's we didn't know when we were going to get out of it at the end of 2020, though, did we? Nobody knew what was going on because in the US there were severe lockdowns, as there were here in Australia, and parts of, I know Germany had lockdowns too, and we had no idea. It was Armageddon,
and it was challenging, and you didn't know it, and I was amongst those people who didn't even complain, because I didn't know who to address my complaints to, because nobody knew. I couldn't blame those politicians that came up with the lockdowns. They were all facing a new situation, and that we were all in dire straits. We were sitting in this shit show together, and we were all in the same boat. So I understand that some people unleashed their fury towards politics and towards economy and the health system and everything. And I knew that. I understand how people came up with all weird kinds of theories to unleash their fury and let off pressure. But down the line, that behavior doesn't make things better. And that's why I said, okay, I could be angry and stamp with my feet and get out the fork and raise my fork towards the sky and stomp my forks. But it wouldn't make things better.
Yeah, I know.
And so I all I could do is, as I usually do when there is a health issue, I was relying to my doctors, and okay, I said, okay, yeah, this shit is probably serious, as they say, and so be it. But of course, it was really hard to watch the whole business dissolve and crumble down.
Yeah. I mean, I'm so glad we're out of it, and that we can look forward to tours again. The tours are happening here again.
Yeah, here too. But it's of course we have with our economy, it's pretty difficult right now because of the war in the Ukraine and the gas prices and everything. It's very there's quite many challenges, and the economy is not doing too well over here. So, but again, no complaints. Let's take things as they are and make the best out of it. That's what I've learned from my grandparents, my parents. Don't complain, make the best out of it. And that's what I'm trying to do. And I will never lose my happiness, I hope. And there's always going to be hope and light at the end of the tunnel. So the sun is going to rise tomorrow. Oh, that sounds like a cheap calendar mem. but it's
a card. I like it. That's good. Hey, sorry, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, sorry, I just cut out there for a bit. Hey, have I got time for a couple more questions? Is that cool?
But I think I have to go.
You got another one?
But
no worries. No, that's all good.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna ask, mate, when is the autobiography coming out? Please tell me you've got one coming out soon.
Oh yeah, but I still have. I'm not working on it, but I have so many more chapters to experience first. So at some point I'm going to write maybe one, but it shouldn't be just a biography, because nobody's interested in what I've experienced. I think I have to have something more profound to say. I don't believe in, hey, I grew up in the suburbs of this small town in Germany, and I'm not sure that stuff would be interesting to people. So I will write it down at some point just to remember it for myself. But to release it, I need something more profound to say than just, hey, and then I did that, and then I did another tour, and then we did another album, then I did another tour, and then did another album. And by the way, this person is a real asshole in private. I don't want to write those kinds of biographies.
Yeah, those books can definitely be that way, I know. I know, yeah. Well, look, I better let you go to the next one. Always a pleasure to have a chat with you. Good luck with everything. The new album is absolutely superb. You know I'm a fan. I hope to see you down here again sometime soon.
Thank you very much. Same goes. And I'm optimistic. Maybe there is a chance for us to come down to Australia next year. I haven't given up hope yet.
Fingers crossed that happens. Yeah, I'd love to see. Please bring Eric Martin down again too. That was phenomenal, seeing him in the flesh playing your stuff. So yeah, awesome. Hope it can happen.
Thank you. Yeah. I hope he's part of the family. He belongs to the inventory. So okay.
Good to chat, brother. Yeah. No worries.
Okay, same goes. Have a lovely evening, and hope to see you in Australia.
Fingers crossed. I'll be there when you come down. No worries.
All right, then.
Talk to you again. Catch ya.
Talk to you.
For sure.
Cheers.
See ya. Well, there he is, the German maestro, Tobias Sammet from Avantasia and EdGuy. And actually, on that note, I did have one question prepared about EdGuy. I just wanted to know if the group was an ongoing concern or on the back burner, or what was happening there, because it's been certainly more than 5 years since we've heard from them in regards to a studio album. But we ran out of time. Next time. Okay, so if you like that chat, there are many more just like it over at scarsandguitars.com. If you like listening to the show, maybe you'll like reading the book as well, because I've written one, Scars and Guitars Volume 1, Conversations from the World of Heavy Metal and Beyond. Click the link on the front page of the website there. You'll be taken to a marketplace of your choice. You can download a sample, and if you do complete the purchase because you like the sample, you like reading the first couple of chapters, please do hit me up, because I want to thank you personally. My name's Andrew Mackay-Smith, and I'm the host of the Scars and Guitars podcast. Until next time, it is a very goodbye for now.
This is Eric Rattan of Cannibal Corpse. You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast with Andrew Mackay-Smith.
I've been the host of the Scars and Guitars podcast since 2017. The first musician I interviewed for the show was David Vincent from Morbid Angel, and things have just snowballed from there. In all, I've posted almost 650 podcast episodes featuring conversations with many of the leading lights of rock, heavy metal, and beyond. It just got to a point where I thought, I need to write a book about all this, so that's exactly what I did. In Scars and Guitars Volume 1, you'll read a heap of deep reveals and commentary, such as Des Fafara talking about Coal Chamber and why the band will never return.
You know, if you're a band just starting out, you need to hear me. Do not start a band with partners. Ever.
Yeah, wise words there. Sage advice, mate, for anybody.
Don't ever, because I can't go do Coal Chamber right now unless I get others involved.
Phil Anselmo talks about the episode in his career which gives him the greatest sense of accomplishment.
I think the staying power of the fans and the staying power of the songs, you know, whether it's Pantera, Down, or Superjoint, the fans remember the songs.
Alex Skolnick from Testament confirms that, yes, playing the guitar in Ozzy's band is anything but an ordinary gig. Will Silent Oz from Dimmu Borgir write a book? Pa from Sabaton gives advice to people who want to start a band.
Look at the team around you, look at the bandmates. If the guys want to be on the stage, then it's all cool. If the guys want to be backstage, then it's not going to be cool.
Current and former members of Cradle of Filth discuss the band's seminal 90s material. Read about the reaction to George Lynch and Mark from Suicide Silence's comments when they throw shade at then President Donald Trump.
We have this idiotic monster, you know, this egotistical, self-aggrandizing, complete piece of shit in there. I just can't understand how we've gotten to this place.
And yeah, we kicked a hornet's nest with Sepultura. Percussive overlord Gene Hoglan talks about recording with Chuck Schuldiner.
Chuck was always, he was very open-minded, and he was into having his musicians that were playing with him just reach out for the best stuff that they had.
Phil Campbell from Motorhead discusses what it takes to get sober. John Five answers his critics who dismiss his tenure with Marilyn Manson.
You know, my name is John Five, and Manson gave me that name, and I had some of the best years of my life in that band and learned a lot.
And we get the lowdown on Treyarch Zagtoth from those who would know, including his mother. All across Scars and Guitars Volume 1, there are moments of tension, relief, tragedy, exhilaration, and throughout it all, you'll obtain insight that I believe no one else has managed to obtain from many of your favourite artists. So treat yourself. Scars and Guitars Volume 1 is currently available as an ebook with a print edition on the horizon. Follow the links attached and download a sample. I'm sure you'll be compelled to read the whole book.